Hi, I'm Ryan Hunter, and this is Kalispell Connections, a program where I interview local community leaders about issues important to the community. And with me today is Alicia and Adam Shilling, the co-founders of Calico Art Center. Hi, guys.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi there.
Thanks
Thanks for
having
joining
us.
me. Yep. So I guess I want to start off with just the origins of Calico Art Center. What motivated you guys to get this center started and running in your community?
Well, the story kind of starts 20 years ago when Adam and I were first married, and we found ourselves kind of on our honeymoon at 19 years old, talking about what we wanted to be when we grew up. And we knew we both loved art. We both loved community even 20 years ago. And so we actually drew a doodle out on a napkin that we still have of an art center. But reality quickly sets in, and we did go to college and get degrees and then had kids. And so, of course, then kids require jobs and mortgages and lots of other things. So we've done some other things in the last 20 years. Adam has been a high school art teacher for the past 16 years, and I've been a photographer and a bookkeeper. And so, honestly, the thing though that kind of kept this dream alive for us was that we became parents to 4 kids, and had made Kalispell our home. And really, during that time of having kids, we're wishing that there was some other things to do. A lot of our life in Kalispell is dictated by weather, and we love being outdoors as a family, but there's times where we need to be indoors. And so Calico kind of was rebirthed during this time of growth that Kalispell had the last few years. We thought, you remember that dream we had, like maybe this would be the time to do it. So we actually found a donor a couple of years ago that believed in what we had to, the vision that we had, and formed a board of directors. And we've just been a grassroots group of local individuals who believe that, art and community and that intersection is something that Kalispell needs.
Yeah. And, when I talk to a lot of folks about the cool things I see happening in the community, I usually use Calico as an example of what I'm seeing in the community, and that's great.
That's cool. Did you have something?
Yeah, I guess the other thing that I would add to that quickly is just, and as an educator, I'm always trying to bring my students as young people to get them connected with the older folks in the community or older folks around them, wherever they're from. And a big thing that I was excited about and still am very excited about for Calico is just really being an all-inclusive space for everybody in this community to come together and meet the young, the old, and there's just so much that we can learn and grow together that way, especially through the arts.
Yes.
Yeah, well put. And then so you guys really kind of got off the ground relatively recently, and the great new art center on Main Street, which I'm so excited about. You really opened that up right as the pandemic was hitting. So I wanted to ask you, what's that experience been like? What are the challenges been in trying to get this started in the midst of the pandemic and the stay-at-home order and all that?
Yeah. I mean, I think, we would be lying if we didn't say it was incredibly hard, and it really threw a wrench in our plans. We had set to actually have a soft opening March 27th. We were going to start kind of a paintable pottery part of our business where you could walk in during regular business hours and paint pottery. We had several different art courses scheduled and people registered. We had concerts. We had a local poet with a presentation that he was making. I had two workshops through Humanities Montana scheduled. I mean, the list kind of goes on, and like all of that obviously had to be put on hold. And we took a couple weeks to get everything that we could switched over digitally. So we've actually been doing a drink and draw night over Zoom, and we've been connecting with people from Rhode Island to Utah to Montana, doing drawing prompts, which is super fun. Yeah. We've had poetry slam digitally, and then we've been providing free art lessons and prompts online every week. And so, you know, that challenged us, but it also propelled us to kind of look at what did we have to share, what resources did we have. The second thing that came out of that was we had ordered a bunch of art supplies to have these classes, and our board of directors and myself decided that those art supplies really needed to be put into the hands of people that, you know, often art supplies is a privilege that we don't think about having access to, but in striving to be equitable in our community, we wanted to see if we could get art supplies to people that needed them. And so we provided 5 elementary schools, the emergency homeless shelter, and Center for Restorative Youth Justice and the Heart Locker, the Hockaday, the library, and Calico provided over 500 free art kits to the community.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, we just did our best. We pivoted during that time, and we were able to raise some money during that time through some awesome people that believed in keeping our mission going. And we are doing curbside paintable pottery kits to go. So just getting scrappy like everybody else.
Right, right. So tell me about the poetry slam. I've attended one of those. It's so much fun, and I don't know that a lot of people know what that is. So could you talk briefly about that, but then also talk about some of the future projects you have lined up that you're excited about?
Yeah, for sure. So a poetry slam is, you know, it can be done different ways, but basically we partnered with this awesome group called Flathead Spoken Word, who has actually been meeting at different locations around the valley for the last 2 years. And you, for the first about, I guess, 45 minutes, you bring an original work or a work like just a famous poem that you love, and you can read it during open mic. The second portion is actually the poetry slam. You have to, in order to compete, you have to bring 3 original poems that you've written prepared to compete. And then there's judges. And I mean, it's all done in like good fun, and it's like the prize is $10 whole. But you actually do the slam part where it starts out with, I think, about a maximum of 5 people, and then you go through the rounds, and whoever wins the rounds, it gets down to 2 people. And I'll tell you really briefly, the last poetry slam we had, it was so cool. We had 5 people, and we had it, I believe, somebody in their 70s, 40s, 30s, 20s, and a teenager. And the 70-year-old took it all.
That's great.
She was amazing. So the poetry slam is a great example of this kind of multi-generational community that art can build. Yeah. So future projects. I've got kids in the car, so you
That's
can
great.
hear that.
Yeah.
You know, this is what COVID Zoom meetings look like, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy Fallon does it, so I
We've been
guess.
watching Jimmy Fallon at night with his kids.
Future projects that I'm most excited about, because honestly, planning right now is pretty hard. There's a lot of constraints under the phase 1. We can't teach classes, but we are planning on reopening our doors at 50% capacity, where you can walk in with your family and sit at a table. It's a limit of 6 people per table, but you know, we are offering that, and you can follow us on Facebook to kind of get that announcement next week. But we are having an exhibition coming up on June 5th. This is something that's been in the works for a year. We are definitely trying to figure out how to have an exhibition during the quarantine and during all of this. But this project is led by a local curator. Her name is Jenny Bevel. She's phenomenal. She has been working with these 5 local women artists. 4 of them are painters. 1 of them is a sculptor. And this exhibition is called Quarantine Dreams. And it's a response of what this pause, what it did to their work, what it did to them personally. And they're all contemporary women artists that this work is so relevant, it's so immediate, it's so important in propelling us back towards each other and having these conversations about what this pandemic has caused in all of our lives. So how we're going to do that most likely is a portion of it will be a live digital exhibition. And then there will be a portion where you will come through with a group of 10 people in our space, and you'll get to stay for about 20 minutes and view the work live. But again, like, those are the things we're trying to figure out under these phase 1 protocols of how we can still get people in our space. Because I think it's important that we find small, safe ways to reconnect with each other. Because I find myself going out places and I'm both excited to be out and I also feel unsure. And I think that if I'm feeling that way, a lot of people are. And so I think that this exhibition is going to be a great way for our community to safely come back into some sense of community and conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that exhibition sounds interesting no matter what way it's held, I think. But
Right.
so I guess last question before we wrap up, and this is something you guys have touched on, but just want to explore a little bit further, which is that power of art to build community. I mean, one of the things I'm interested too, and I think, some research shows that especially coming out of, the economic crisis that we're going to be facing as a result of this, is just the power of art and art in the community to be an economic development driver, really. And that's something people don't realize a lot of. But not only that, the economic side, but also just that building community and kind of your perspective on that and your sense of what it can mean for Kalispell.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, we picked our location in the heart of Kalispell on Main Street for many reasons. Of course, we love Kalispell, we love downtown, but it was some strategy in, the concept of creative placemaking is where you can bring vibrancy to your downtown. It really does drive economy. There's areas in Utah that have designated creative districts, and they've seen a 6% increase in their economy. And so part of our strategy was to really help the vision of downtown be strong, and the Rails project, we're passionate about that. And do you have anything to add?
I think you touched on it.
And something that I think also is important during times where we're facing some hard economic times and maybe even some empty storefront windows is there are artists that are longing to create and show their work. And there's a lot of projects actually out of the last recession that we were in, I think 2008. Particularly in New York City, where artists were allowed to come in and have kind of residencies in vacant storefronts. And just by creating these beautiful works of art and vibrancy in the downtown, it kept those parts alive. It also re-engaged people to look at those parts of the city in new ways. And so that is something that we are, as Calico, looking at right now. To provide for our community. That's something we've kind of talked to a few people about. But art is important. It's not just pretty to look at. It's a point in history. It's a visual historical point of reference that says what we were working through as a community during that time. You can look at the Renaissance and go look at all of that was going on. And so the art that's being made right now is the response to what we're going through personally, but also what we're going through as a community. And so I think that it's important to have a place for that.
Yeah. Well put.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
thank you guys. I'm excited to see, the Arts Center blossom and really become a anchor in our community, and just so happy and feel so fortunate to have you guys in the community doing what you're doing. And thank you for joining me on the program.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
thank you for having us. Thank you for serving on City Council.
Yes.
Now that we've been working on this project, I think we have a value even more for what City Council does and the service you guys are all doing there. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Yeah.